Buttons. All the buttons. I know. I thought I had it fixed. That's what I get for trying. Is the volume okay now? Everything okay? Okay. I know. I need to set up some buttons on Twitch for buttons. Welcome everybody. Uh, gonna give everybody a moment to wander in, and then we can get started. It is gonna be, I think, well, I was hoping for a busy night because the devs dropped a lot of stuff on us yesterday, but we shall see. You know, there's a lot of numbers that have people kind of a little bit in uproar. So we'll have to see how everybody functions. So yeah, gonna channel my inner Bene Gesserit today and um, see what we can do with some Dune lore, right? Some Dune numbers, some getting ready for the game. It's been wild in there. Every time I look in there, it's kind of scrolly and just like people have some strong feelings about some information, and yeah, it's been pretty wild. So for the handful of people here that are new, I am Meg. Try not to whack this. DeadWomanWalking. Been gaming for a long time. Started out with yeah. Started scrolling for Dev Comments. We started out gaming with tabletop gaming. RPGs back in the 80s and 90s, and then moved into PC gaming, and now here we are. As you might have noticed, I am Sans Mojo today. He was not feeling well, so you're stuck with me. Oh no, whatever shall we do? But the 80s had some awesome music. It was very neon, very neon, and very pink. But yeah, okay. So Dune, I made some notes to get us started. I also did it's Moa deep indigestion. I also did a PowerPoint because there's been lots of questions coming up in the Discord. I know you're stuck with me in my button ineptitude, but I've seen lots of questions over the last week come up. We've had a huge influx of people coming into the Discord from the non-NDA beta weekend. There was something like 10,000 people-ish showed up in the open Discord. So that's been an influx of people who are new to survival gaming, people who are new to Dune, who are not necessarily familiar with the lore change from like the movies and books to what we have here. We do have we have two lovely mods here. We have Brad and Veen are here to save us from any issues, including ourselves. And so many thanks to them. That reminds me, I do have some admin stuff. And Kylo, the bestest dog. If you are curious, on Twitch, can you ban yourself? I guess if you just absolutely have to. I mean, if you feel the need. If you're on Twitch and are interested in merch, exclamation point merch. If you're looking for my Discord, it's exclamation point Discord. If you're looking for the wish list for the cooking stream, it is exclamation point wish list. If you're looking for donations, it's exclamation point donate. And last but definitely not least, as she throws stuff in the floor, is, I know, I twisted his arm. I threatened him with stolen. Last but not least, for those who have not purchased the game yet and are still kind of holding off or whatever, I do have exclamation point Dune purchase is my link to Zola, which is an associate link through Funcom because I'm a partnered creator with them. So I get a little tiny kickback. It costs you nothing extra if you haven't already bought the game. So there you go. all my admin stuff. Many thanks to supporters like Kason, Baz, Variable Ian, and our favorite rat shaker, to for all of the assistance and support. So you guys have been awesome, and I'm through viewers like you, my favorite rat. I know, Sack Tap. We wouldn't know what to do without your rat jiggling, and it is really hot. So the Bene Gesserit's coming off because it is boiling in here. I have Western. It actually sun was out today, and I have Western facing windows, so it's very, very toasty in here. So I'm trying not to bang the mic. It's like right there. So first things first, we were going to talk about some recap of what we know about the game structure, the start times, some tiers of the game, build sets, and stuff. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over. I have, fingers crossed this works, a button that worked the first time. How often does that happen? Okay. Some common questions and things that have come up in the Discord in the last week. I was going to bounce these back and forth between, I know, first time. It doesn't happen often. I was kind of hoping for Mojo to be here to kind of help me bounce these off. That build set, did you see it? It's a Twitch drop. I know. I'm a nerd. If you were ever in doubt of my nerddom, I have a PowerPoint. So we're going to talk. They showed these numbers in the stream last night. Some of the beta testing stuff. I do hope Mojo gets better soon. I think he's running on empty. It's been a hard run up to live for everybody, and I do hope he feels better soon. I know he was feeling really, really poorly when he messaged me earlier. He felt really bad, and I said rest is best. So hopefully he's getting some sleep now. 25% of the Haga Basin area that was available was explored, which is not a lot. There were people who were bragging about, I finished it in 20 minutes. I'm like, you didn't finish anything. You missed a lot. There's lots more to see. 100,000 people eaten by Shai Hulud. That's a lot of noms. And if you were playing, you got to see a lot of that nom action. And you probably were one of them. I know. I didn't die in the open beta weekend, so that wasn't me. 200,000 vehicles crafted. That's probably first bikes and probably a steel bike later, or your secondary bike after you got eaten. Shai Hulud felt bad for you and gave you a free bike. 10,000 lost in storms. That's a lot of people getting storm burned. You always got to keep an eye on the weather. The environment will get you. I think someone has said I deliberately don't explore all. They wanted to save some for launch. I think that's a great idea. There's a lot to see. There's little bits of story and lore for you throughout the basin, throughout the whole basin map, not just Haga Basin South. So there's lots to find. There's little hidey holes and there's treasures and things. So if you got down but not out of it, I don't think that counts as a death. 65,000 withered away in the sun. Too many people were like, oh no, I'm going to be fine. It died to the sun while building. You get really enmeshed in standing out there building, and then you're like, oh, where's all my water? So it was very, very easy for that to kind of slip away from you. It's very easy to get immersed in other things in this game. It's kind of a nice loop that they've got set for us. Almost 10 million scavs killed. That's a lot of scavengers. That's all the NPC in Haga Basin South. So that's a lot of pew and stab. 56,000 new planetologists. So if you found your way to the planetologist up above the second lab and completed his initial training, congratulations. It's a very useful skill to have. We'll talk a little bit more about trainers in a minute. I have those queued up. Lots of there was a lot of depopulation. We got thirsty. We got real thirsty. Lots of Bene Gesserits. I think Bene Gesserit was probably one of the more common ones started with, simply because we had talked about in the creator press build about how the trooper was right there. So you starting out with something else. I personally love the Bene Gesserit to start. I use the voice almost all the time. Sugarwire claws, 8 million sugarwire claws. I think people were just like wee across the map with it. I think they probably used it more for the wee factor than to actually, use it in combat. Not that I can blame you. There's a lot of wee factor with it. Parkour, exactly. There was. They showed it in one of the trailers where they shot up over and then used their belts to kind of glide down the other side, climbing everything. Most everything is climbable. And I'm not going to tell you more about the rest of the climbing stuff, but there's a lot of things to climb in this game. A lot of climbing. That's hilarious. A lot of turrets. Remember, when you start out with the initial skill, it's not as potent as it will be later. So don't fret about it being a little puny to start. Things get much more involved as you go through. Swordmaster knee charge, that's very, very popular. 4,000 spice hallucinations experienced, and those are the withdrawal hallucinations. Those aren't the ones that come with the spice dreams. The turret's absolutely fine. But if you got high on spice and you after the fourth trial, and you became prescient, and you come back down off that high, you see shit. Some of it's pretty fun. Some of it's kind of creepy. But lots of water. I'm surprised we didn't consume more water, to be honest. I tend to keep my water topped up. 13,000 completed some of the trials. The trials are they're very rooted in lore. We've talked about the trials of Aqua before. This is the specific spice hallucination. This wasn't just the first spice dream that sends you to the first cave. This is the spice hallucinations for when you come off of the spice. Not everyone got to the fourth trial. If you made it to the fourth trial, that's kind of a tipping point for your knowledge of Fremen. Liters of water. I've probably had 4 liters today. That's 100. Yeah, okay. That's a lot of water. Yeah, no, that's the 4,000 spice hallucinations is not people because if you started the game, pretty much you were going to have that first spice trip. I did the American thing. Maths is hard. But you had to get to a certain point to become prescient and be able to use spice to buff your stuff. So that was a fun thing. So global launch times. This came out. They dropped this for us the other day. Don't have the still suits yet. Yeah. I do. I did drink a lot. I keep very hydrated in the game. It's hard for me to do sitting at my desk. But Head Start is coming very soon. They will have preloads starting the night before, morning before, somewhere in there. So you'll have a little bit of time. It took me 2 hours to download the last the non-NDA beta client. So I'm glad we'll have the preload. So we'll all be hitting the gate at the same time, which is kind of nice. Very, very fun. So something that I noticed when people were coming into the Discord, and there's lots of questions about whether they're going to be Atreides or Harkonnen, and I think there's a kind of a misconception a little bit about who these guys are. I mean, there's kind of the popular good guy, bad guy thing, but I think they're a little bit more dynamic. I'm not sure if what Zola will do with that. I hope they do let you preload. Woo, Atreides, I know. Realistically, between the two of them, uh, they've been fighting each other for 10,000 years. Literally for 10,000 years. If you saw the Dune Prophecy show, they they they've been around, and so between the two of them, neither side are good guys. They're kind of just various shades of awful. Some of them are literally better at hiding the bodies than others, and so it kind of goes back and forth. The question is, can you betray a faction? And the answer is yes, you could betray your faction once. I saw some complaint about, well, that's not fair. And I'm like, literally, if you go betray the Baron, he is not taking you back. He is absolutely not taking you back. You'll be lucky if he doesn't have you killed on sight. And Atreides, the Duke, wouldn't take anybody back that wasn't loyal. So it makes perfect sense that they would not allow you to come back. So if you're betraying, then be mindful of what you're losing in that sense, which would be possibly later access to other stuff. We have a whole lot to start. There's build sets for each side that they showed us some of the skins, some of the different looks for the Atreides are more angular and sleek with their thopters. The Harkonnen are more rounded and insect-like. So they're you get a look for them, but if you're wanting to betray them, hello, you can't dress liars that lie. You only get to do it once. I did ask Joel in that meeting on Monday, so if you betray the Atreides, you can't participate in the Landsraad as Atreides, and then if you betray the Harkonnen, you can't participate in the Landsraad as Harkonnen. I was like, does this mean you can't participate in the Landsraad? And his response was, nice try, no answer. One character, the question was, can you have multiple accounts for characters? You can have multiple accounts, but you can't have alts on one account, one world. So one character per world. So if you want to have two characters in a world, you'd have to buy two accounts. It's just how they've got it set. I think part of it is just to kind of keep the database from getting cluttered and manipulating the Landsraad and things like that. I think it'll be difficult even as real people, much less bots and things. Making the game pay to play instead of free to play helps eliminate some of the botting problems. So by keeping you from making a bunch of alts means you can't make a bunch of bots that do stuff for you, like farming and that sort of thing. So it helps eliminate some of that. There's always going to be a will where there's a way, but it keeps it to a dull roar. Yeah. So the next thing that they had was they talked a little bit about the Landsraad and how the two factions kind of impact that a little bit. I look at it as we are like lobbyists, and we are. If I favor Atreides, I want Atreides to get the best trade deals coming onto the planet, whether it be weapons or armors or whatever. I want the best deals. So to get everybody to favor Atreides with the best deals, then I have to go around and not bribe, but grease the palms of the different minor houses to vote my way. And so when I look at the bingo board, that's what I see. So I have, let me see. Nope, that's the wrong button. Okay. I have the Landsraad video where they talk a little bit about the Landsraad. So let's see if I can't get this to come up. Oh, get loud.
Power. Given the right lever, you can move a planet. In Dune Awakening, your path to power leads you through the great houses. But only accomplished guilds may earn their place among the Atreides or Harkonnen. Swear your allegiance and contribute to their rise in desert power. The pledge is only the beginning. You have come far, and
Better for the
now
volume?
it's time to take control of the Landsraad. The Landsraad is the council of great houses that make decisions that impact all the players on all the servers in your world. Your goal, and that of your guild, is to secure their votes so that your faction, the Harkonnen or Atreides, can take control. To secure their votes and sway them to your side, you must complete specific house requirements on the Landsraad board. Alone or together with your guild, your efforts can move the needle. Be the first to fulfill a house requirement to not only secure their vote, but also reap their many rewards. Whether you enjoy PvE or PvP, there are many paths to victory. If you prefer the relative safety of the shield wall, there are many activities that will not put you into direct conflict with other players, while still contributing to your faction's rise to power. House Torvald wants you to eliminate sandflies. Rush in, or pick off the deserters one by one with your sniper rifle. House Rashis wants a delivery of ground cars. Join up with friends and build strongholds for large-scale production and deliver them safely to the House representative by ground or air. Large-scale production is costly and will require a lot of resources. To be able to craft certain high-tier items, you will also need the most sought-after resource of all: spice. You can buy spice from spice merchants or on the player-run exchange. And it can even be found in smaller pockets behind the shield wall. But to collect industrial quantities,
all the drugs,
you must venture into the unknown. The deep desert beckons. Here, violent Coriolis storms sweep across the vast expanse of sand, resetting the map every week, revealing new resources to mine.
Oh yeah.
And points of interests to explore. This ever-changing environment offers endless exploration, but also endless conflict. Each house in the Landsraad desires a specific control point in the deep desert. Seize it and hold it over time to gain their vote.
Yes, you can pick which zone you want to appear in.
Fortify
left, right,
it
center.
and be ready for a fight. Other players will soon come to take it from you. The deep desert is also home to frequent spice blows, offering large quantities of the precious melange. You need a lot of spice. Once you've located a spice blow, move your harvesters in place to collect. Just be ready to defend it with your life.
I like how they changed it to a woman instead of a man in the... Yep.
After a week of politics,
Grandfather
manufacturing, and conflict, one side emerges victoriously. The Harkonnen have seized the Landsraad, and the leaders of the player guilds who contributed to their victory all get to vote for a decree that will impact everyone on a server belonging to that world. They choose to unlock exclusive weapon imports rights. By decree of the Landsraad Council, under the seal of His Imperial Majesty, a trade consortium has been authorized to visit Arrakis, providing Harkonnen players with exclusive access to a unique weapons vendor in Harko Village. As the Harkonnen Landsraad term begins, the race for control in the next term starts anew.
Dream's all about the power games. Giving it the side eye, that's what it was. So, hold on, let me make sure that's stopped. Oh, okay, stop. All right, back to the other one. The idea is as you go through the Landsraad, doing things for them, then you will get rewards. Okay, so like in this one, it has House Richese wants ground cars. They want buggies. This is where the real dude nerds are congregating. Absolutely. Thank you guys for the subs. So you get points from delivering the ground cars, or you get points from holding the control points. Okay. Currently, no one's holding this control point. As you donate or encourage Richese to favor your side, once you reach certain tiers, you get rewards. To encourage, it's not just you giving all of the stuff that you managed to hoard for a week. You get a little something back. So it's not exactly 70,000. There's some odd point magic thing math that they do. You don't have to bring them 70,000 ground cars. So for each ground car, you get 23. I'm not a math person. I don't know why they did it that way. It feels very weird to me, but that's a lot of buggies that you would have to turn in. And this is it. Someone mentioned this is to help the PvEers contribute. The end game is not PvP. The end game is the Landsraad. PvP can contribute. PvE can contribute. The points go. The goal is per guild. You have to be aligned with a guild to participate for the Landsraad. So if I say am in a guild and I go take them a ground car, it goes down as my guild's contribution, and it would show up on either the Harkonnen or Atreides side, and it'll have the top few contributors. We saw there was one they showed that was skewed heavily Atreides, so it's got the top contributors to the Landsraad on that board. One thing that it does show on the board is it's a 5x5. So you can either take most points or you can bingo board the card and get 5 in a row. So you have to be ready when the vote rolls over to kick in if you're wanting to participate. It gives a lot of incentive for PvE play. Yes. Some people, so for the new people who are unsure about the map sizes, this is another question that came up quite a bit. The Dune Awakening Haga Basin map is the same size as Conan Exiles. So if you've played Conan Exiles and you run around on foot or run around on a horse or whatever, you know how big it is. The Deep Desert is 9 times that size. So it's a good size map. And they showed in the stream last night, the strip, the PvE strip, when they leave to go into the deep desert, how long that is. He said it's like 24 kilometers wide. There's a lot of map. So I think people being very, very worried about overcrowding or not having room to play or build. I think that, well, I understand why they feel that way. I don't think there's a legitimate reason to be concerned about not having elbow room. We also saw a lot of empty space in that deep desert. Whenever they tipped off into the sand, there's a lot of room, a lot of room. Map structure. This is probably the most common question asked. There's lots of confusion about this question. And I got called in the last week Commissar and Stasi for trying to explain this, because I'm like, this is not sharded. This is not instances. This is using the language that the devs have given us will keep us a little more sane. So the question was, hold on, let me highlight that one while we're here. How long does it take to get the building and cosmetics for each faction? So if you played in the beta weekend, you spoke with one of the reps at the Anvil Station, Harkonnen or Atreides, maybe talk to them both. As you build reputation with a group, those building and cosmetic pieces unlock for you to purchase. As you build rep with both, then you can, but at some point, you'll tip that rep over into the point where you pledge to them. So you can have them to a point, but then at some point you're going to have to decide, and then decide which one you're going to betray if you want them both. Back to the map question. So every world is one deep desert, one Harko village, one Arakeen, and a whole bunch of basins. I've heard anywhere between 40 and 60 basins. I think they're still kind of bouncing around numbers to see what's going to work. Maybe some regions of the real world Earth might have different setups depending on need and demand and things. And of course, how many numbers we can handle. Current numbers for Haga basins is 40 consecutive live players on any one, but they did say that they bumped up those numbers over the beta weekend and the server stays stable. So those numbers are in flux. Hefe said this morning about numbers in general, he said the canon will change. There was a lot of numbers flying around this morning in the conversations. So numbers have changed, numbers can change again, and some of them probably will change again. That's the whole great thing about live games. So yes, it could go upwards of, we don't know. I could be pulling numbers out of my butt too. I don't know. But there's a lot of basins. Okay. No. Okay, so the question is 1 siege per world. If you look over here on the side, you can't really see because my head is in the way. It says World 1, World 2, World 3, World 4. So each world is one deep desert, many Haga basins, one Arakeen and Harko village. And we saw the overland map in the other thing. So if I'm on World A and Basin 2, and you're on World A, Basin 4, we're both in the same world, and we can meet in the deep desert, and we can meet in the trade hubs. Worlds don't talk to each other, though. So if you want to play with friends and you can't necessarily get on the same siege on day one, you can be in the same world and still run into each other. So, hold on. So there were questions about worlds and things that have come. So one of the questions people ask is if I am, yes, the Landsraad is, they're contained in each world. So the worlds don't talk. Can factions visit? So if I am Atreides, can I go to Harko village? Yes, because the rules of Canley apply. I can go to, if I'm Harkonnen, I can go to Arakeen. The rules of Canley apply. I can still visit those places. One person had asked, can you drive there? No, you have to have an ornithopter to get to the overland map. To the overland, you have to have a thopter. You can take a pilot from the trade posts to the social hubs, but it'll cost you. Okay. As you play, I think a lot of this will become a little bit more clear. This part's pretty not too confusing. Okay, the deep desert. That cutscene was funny. I'm going to utter the words base raid. This is probably the second most contentious words in the open Discord right now. Base raiding. Technically, there is a mechanic that allows for it. Should you? I wouldn't. Will people? Yeah. Joel described it. He said, if you want the clue, it's in the it's at the end of the first book. But if you've watched the movies, when Paul is trying to time his attack to go after the Emperor, he has to wait for a storm to knock the shields down. There are daily storms that come through the deep desert, and then there's the Coriolis storm that comes once a week. The daily storms are big enough in the deep desert to knock the shields down for a small window in the PvP area. So if you build your building in a PvP area, there is a risk that someone could break in. However, realistically, forward operating bases are big garages. The deep desert wipes every week. Why would I build a production base out there? I would not, because it could be broken into and shit's expensive. So I would not do that. Technically, you could break into a base that way, but I don't know why you would want to. So the window's very small. They want PvP to be player versus player, not player versus empty house. The idea is you want to be going after, instead of going after an empty house, go after that really slow harvester that we saw flying back like a pregnant moose. That's a much richer target than an empty house. You can build in the PvE area and be safe from raid. However, the whole deep desert map, this whole map, the 500 square miles, wipes once a week. Anything you leave out there on any part of that map will get wiped. So balancing, running out there, deep desert forward operating bases are nice garages because you need someplace to park your stuff. But I wouldn't do production out there. We did see the grandfather worm, right? They are out there. They're big. They will eat you and your vehicles. Probes. Okay, so that someone had a question about probes, and there was some interesting numbers going around about that too. The deep desert is a grid of nine squares, 3 by 3. And to probe that, each of those squares divides into 9 smaller squares. And so you need 81 probes to do the whole thing. And that's, someone was insisting there were 81 points of interest out in the deep desert. And I said, no. So if you're wanting to probe the whole thing and make a sync chart for your friends, you need to have 81 probes. You're going to be spending a bit of time out there. This is where forward operating base is nice because you can throw that in a box and throw some fuel cells in. Another reason I would not be too worried about the giant Zerg worry is, I don't know if anybody else noticed, when they were flying around in the deep desert yesterday, even cutting between vehicles, you could see them refueling. And that big transport chewed through a lot of fuel. You're not going to just hover out there indefinitely. You're going to eventually run out of gas. You're going to eventually run out of water. You're eventually going to have to land. So I'm not too worried about a whole bunch of probes means hands. I'm not too worried about giant zergs, sitting right there off the side waiting for us. There will be people who patrol, of course, but I'm not too. I can come back later. No skin off my hide. Let's see. What else do we have? Okay, PvP in the basin. Some things that people are worried about from the open beta weekend was the wrecks. So there are PvPable areas in the basin. All of the static wrecks, except for the first one in the Hugga Basin area south, is PvPable. There's a couple other base spots there for PvP, but it's primarily the wrecks. And I think a lot of people were very worried about having to go in there to get materials. There are some materials that if you want to make armor and weapons, those materials come from the wrecks. Or you can buy them with Solari from the trade posts, or you can recycle loot in the recycler that you can build at iron level. Iron level, you can build the recycler and get those materials back. So there's not a whole lot of have to go into those spaces. There are a few contracts that encourage you to go there if you want to take them. Yeah, iron. But you don't. You have a goose? What do you have a goose for? Yeah, you can get them from active crashing ships. There's not there's not a lot of you must go into these wrecks for these materials. You do have options. The lab materials are the same way. You can go into the labs for them, or you could buy them from vendors. But really, going to the labs is a thing on its own. It's fun. Okay, I admit it. So the question was, can PvE players still progress? And the answer is absolutely yes. You absolutely can continue. Schools of training. This was another one. They put out three. They put out three videos. So we're going to look at the videos for the Bene Gesserit, for the Mentat, and the Trooper, I think it is. Let me see what we have here. The buttons, I know. Media, video. Who do we have first? Swordmaster. I didn't get Swordmaster. I was watching for it. I must have missed it. So let's look at Trooper first.
Forged in the crucible of war, House Troopers are the first, last, and often only line of defense in the Imperium. With rigorous routines and a life of survival and combat training, the House Trooper is always ready for action. Drilled in heavy firepower, long-range weapons, and combat technology, a trooper is an expert in finding new vantage points and forcing enemies out of cover through gravitational manipulation. Mastering these tactics will help you become an effective opponent against even the most heavily defended strongholds. At the heart of a trooper's abilities lies a perfected muscle memory for all kinds of weapons, increasing your accuracy and handling at long ranges. This perfected handling will also help you with increased agility while carrying more destructive options. You will also learn to master the Holtzman anti-gravity technology known as suspensors. Throwing your anti-gravity grenades will trap enemies within its field, leaving them an easy target. And when pinned down by close-range attackers, releasing the suspensor energy will blast away any nearby enemies. In order to navigate the battlefield quickly, your tactical technology includes the Shigawire Claw, a fast climbing cable enabling unprecedented vertical mobility. And when no other solutions are possible, use the modified Hunter Seeker for a high explosive option to defeat heavily fortified enemies. Throughout the dunes of Arrakis, any school can be trained and improved by masters. Advancing your combat skills is the key to surviving any battlefield.
That pushback is
but
awful.
knowing your enemy also grants you access to their abilities, opening up synergies that surpass even the most deadly House Trooper. Salute in honor of your house, and venture brave into the dunes of Arrakis.
I did not grab the Swordmaster video. It will take, I could now, but it will take me a few minutes because I have to download it and then I have to re-upload it. Otherwise, we could watch it, but I would have no sound because that's how Restream works. But the Trooper is a good starting class for people who don't feel really confident with combat, I think. It's got a lot of nice, it's got the grenade, it's got the Shiga-wire. It's great for just getting around. Okay, so someone, hold on 1 second. Real quick. Someone asked this button really quick. So the relevant POI are going to be camped nonstop, making it impossible for PEers to do them, or there'll be so many POIs there won't be much PvP. One of the things I think people need to kind of keep in mind is at its core, well, hey, though. No, Mojo is sick. Mojo is sick. At its core, it's a survival game, not a PvP game. It is a survival game that has some PvP in it. If you're looking for more PvP options, the POI in the deep desert are going to be your better choice than trying to look for PvP in the basins. If you're wanting PvP with people, that's probably going to be, the ideal place to go find it, because there's higher tier materials, there's greater reward, which will draw people out there, because there's unique things that you can't get in the basin. You have to go to the deep desert to get some of those things. So I think if you're wanting PvP, that's going to be your best place to go look. But, are you allowed to create 2 profiles and play in separate guilds on the same servers? No, 1 character per world. If you want alts, you have to pay for them. Oh, yeah, we have El Hate. Oh, no, I didn't discuss that yet because there's lots of confusion, and I want to make sure I'm very, very, very... I have my ideas on it that I think that weren't explained completely, but I want to make sure before I start explaining things. Someone asked, traveling... The Shiga-wire is great for traveling on foot. It can be. I don't use it. I'm a weirdo. I don't use the Shiga-wire because I have vertigo, so I never use it. But the Shiga-wire combined with the suspensors can get you some altitude and quite a bit of stuff. Where is, okay. the 300 parkour. Yeah, I think for early on, remember guys, you can have many of the schools. You can have all of the schools of training if you want. You can only have enough points for the capstone in 2, but that doesn't mean you are limited to only 2 schools. You can have mix and match from all of them. You can only have 3 active things at a time, but you can have something from the Bene Gesserit, you can have something from Sword, you can have something from Mentat. You know, you have those options. It's meant for you to be able to kind of pick and play your own way. And I've said before, there's not a meta for PvE. There's not one thing that you will do for every camp. Whether you're indoors or outdoors, and different factions have different abilities that they will use on you. Because remember, anything that you can learn, they can learn. I don't know how many of you guys got far enough to get kneed to the face by the NBC, but they will do it. And someone else mentioned the heavies with the repulsor thing. They'll do it. So you have to be thinking about where are you going and who are you fighting. Right? Okay, we were going to look at We have the Bene Gesserit still. Yes, Bene Gesserit. My personal favorite. Media. Video.
The spiritual and political school of the Bene Gesserit traditionally holds their knowledge and abilities within the confines of their sisterhood. Yet at the fringes of their influence, some dare to pass this knowledge on to outsiders. With expertise in close-range combat, manipulation, and self-control, the Bene Gesserit are experts at controlling the battlefield and surviving the extreme conditions on Arrakis. Their weirding way grants you superhuman movement and combat tactics, enabling you to traverse large distances in the blink of an eye, or in the heat of a battle, flank an enemy up close to yield a deadly strike before anyone has a chance to react. But mastering close-range combat and movement alone is not enough. Using their most notorious ability, the Voice, you will be able to compel your enemies to abandon their allies, breaking their spirit and confusing their minds. While this control of the body and mind makes you a powerful opponent, it can also be used to strengthen your resilience to extreme conditions. Through meditation and focus, you will be able to improve recovery and be less affected by the dangers of toxins and the harsh burning sun. Throughout the dunes of Arrakis, any school can be trained and improved by masters. Advancing your knowledge is the key to surviving your path forward. But the wise will also school themselves beyond their foundation, granting synergies that empower you to reach beyond the shadowed influence of the Bene Gesserit. Embrace the bloodlines of the Sisterhood and master your survival on Arrakis.
There's, wish I'd gotten the Swordmaster one to show, because there's lots of fun stuff for the Swordmaster as well. There is something, rushing past. You got the flamethrower, you got all these ranged weapons, and just punching them in the face. There's something very visceral about that I kind of like. I like the Swordmaster, and I like the Bene Gesserit, and I think there's some. I like the word they use, is synergy. There's some synergy with them that works well. I think it was in the Mentat tree. There's a perk for backstabbing. So the Bendu step and the weirding step and the backstab. So there's ways of, if that's how you play, there's definite ways to improve your effectiveness as a player, which is always kind of nice, right? We appreciate some carnage. And then I think the last bit I was going to go over was just some generic Q&A. We have lots of people who were new to survival games, and we saw how many people died from the environment in the initial at the beginning of the podcast. It was a lot of people died. Yep, leaps behind the enemy. We have people who are new to Dune. There was some questions about the history, and someone had asked about how did the history change beforehand. And I said everything would be the same up until the point where Jessica made the decision to have a girl and not a boy. Where she, instead of following her emotions and going with what Leto wanted, where she obeyed the Reverend Mother and did the Bene Gesserit thing. And those things, that's where the first sway was. But all of the other characters and players essentially on the board that were there before, we're still going to have the same motivations that they had beforehand, whether it be Yue or Leto or Raban or any of those guys that survived the raid. I'm not giving that away. They survived the Battle of Arrakeen, would still have those same motivations. Spies are still going to spy, and assassins are still going to assassin, and there's still going to be political maneuvering. So and then there was some questions about leveling. I think something that needs to be kind of kept in mind with leveling. So there's not really a really good way there's not power leveling. Just it's a waste to me. This game is a waste of your time if you're attempting to power your way through. Because when you surveyed the Haga Basin South and you saw all those little camps with the icons that look like three little houses, there's intel at those. Go run around, get the XP and the intel from those camps. And then, you're getting the intel that gets you the ability to build stuff, to open up new unlocks like new weapons and armor and things like that, new vehicles, upgraded vehicles. So you need that intel to be able to do that. And you get the levels that also give you the points towards your trained skills, right? So you can run past all of that, but then you're going to be short on points. It's like saying, okay, you just arrived on Arrakis. I'm going to give you some top tier gear and let you go into the deep desert. Well, you're going to be missing all the trained stuff. You're going to be missing all the perks and things that you get with the trained things. So you're going to be at a huge disadvantage. The automod get you. Leveling they've done such a good job with making it feel natural. It doesn't feel like a chore. If you're running around playing the game, the levels come, and then suddenly you're like, oh crap, I'm level 100. How did that happen? And you're like, oh, I've got all these points to spend. I guess I should spend some of those. It's a non, as Cole's saying, it's a non-concern. It really just kind of flows. If you're running around and doing the thing. For new players who've never been on the map, it can take you 90 minutes to, they said, upwards of 3 hours to clear Haga Basin South if you do everything. For those of you who played at the beta weekend, there's the 2 trainers there. There's a lab, there's a rec. There's some contracts on the contract board, and do those. The levels come, and it leads you into the story. It gets you a ton of Solari, and then you have it. You're running around getting blood, you're getting loot, you're getting materials you need to build with. So whenever you want to go do something extra, you already have all of the stuff. The levels do arrive very quickly. You don't have to the levels do come quickly. And then you're at the end game, and I don't even feel like there's an end game. I think because I like survival games. I've got a lot of hours in Conan. I know people play, the levels are premature, Ark and... Okay, this question actually is good. And the reason I'm going to talk about this one, it's worth getting a couple of the Caliph Drinkers and the Emperor's Wings schematics before moving out of Haga Basin South. Once you build a thing, okay, you've got the schematic for the Emperor's Wings, and the Emperor's Wings are a goat, by the way. They're the best. I've made them, the schematic disappears. If I go to a repair bench, it'll tell me I cannot repair them because I don't know how to make them. So I need to go back and get another one. So you need to have one to make it, one to repair it. It's in your best interest, if you like a schematic, especially one in the south, to run through there twice. The boxes reset in about 45 minutes. And yeah, there's been lots of changes. Okay, so the repair. So say I have my dagger, right, and I've been stabbing people, and my durability goes down to 80, but I don't want to let it get any lower. I need another schematic to repair it, right? I go get my other schematic. Now I know how to repair it. I can use that repair schematic until this one's dead. Okay. Once this one is dead and it's broken, I have to go get another schematic to get the same thing again. And that's the thing, the spice infused copper you will have to go get. It's wise for no, you didn't. Okay. You would have had to have gone back a second time. You cannot repair it without the schematic unless they changed it. Bean is saying that a lot has changed, but 2 schematics, that, and it's just handy to have. If stuff gets broken, being able to repair it. There's also the market where you can sell stuff. So people who have a thing that they love, or if you find a higher tier one, or you find something that's, you get eaten by Shai-Hulud and now your stuff is gone. It's always nice to have a spare. I go out with the idea that 2 is 1 and 1 is none. And I always try to have a spare. We're talking large beta experience here because the closed beta is under NDA. And while I can talk about some of those things, those are very narrow. Yeah, don't be afraid to go back to Hugger Basin South. If I have to go get fabric, because you always need fabric, or EM things from the caves, I'll make the circuit on Hugger Basin South. I'm in and out pretty quick. Yeah, it's not a bad habit to be willing to make a quick circuit. I think farmers are going to love this game because a quick circuit for a lot of things, because as you move north, things get harder and harder. And you'll need more and more of a thing. So I'll run through an area and grab, that box of, it's only got 4 in it, but I need 40. Well, come back tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, and then I have a stockpile. And this is how I get a stockpile of stuff. Yeah, just having a spare is not a bad idea. Keeping in mind, in many of the labs, like the first one, like the testing station number 2 and the Alcyon, which was right there, there's a box at the end that has something tasty, something good. Many of the wrecks and points of interest, the larger ones, will have something tasty, something good for you at the end. Not all of them, and as you go, they will rotate. So there is an RNG to some of them as you go. Yeah. If a guildie gets eaten and all their stuff gets gone, it's always a good idea to have a spare, at least one spare, handy for you and your guild or your friends or whoever, just in case. Sneaky people in the markets, yeah. If you went down into the souk, there's a lot of sneakies. And the devs, I don't know if Hefe is still here. I know he popped in a while ago. Left a lot of, for lack of a better term, some treasure. There's treasure around that are quite handy to have. Excuse me. But there's not really a power level thing. Play the game. A lot of people were concerned. There's hidden stuff everywhere. I've played a bit. I've got a lot of hours in the game. Over the creator weekend, I was running around, and we were like, "Is that cave there before?" I recall seeing that. So, yeah, there's stuff around, and you're going to find things, even if it's just materials that you'll need. Channel, it's a survival game. Channel your inner loot goblin because you need to. You really need to. I know my teammate really wishes I would stop bringing so much stuff home, but at one point someone looking in the boxes going, why do we have all of this stuff? Because I play the game and I came back with stuff because we might need it someday. We might. Yes, definitely look up. Definitely look up. If you haven't been to the um, fourth trial, cover your ears because I'm gonna spoil. When you go to the fourth trial, there's places to climb. You'll see there's in some of the other places you'll see hooks, you'll see ropes, you'll see lights. Climb. There's something there. There's a reason those hooks and lights and ropes and things are there. You saw it in the introduction whenever you first start out in the cave and you have to climb that wall. There's some hooks and rope hanging from the wall. You know, look for those things. Hey, hoarding is not a bad thing. The fourth trial was great. Hoarding is not necessarily a bad thing because there's certain things you will need all the time. Dune is really good about it, like Conan. There's things you will need at the beginning and you'll need them at the end. You're chasing around, fuel cells and plant fiber. Guess what? You'll be doing. Yes, there's lots of clues if you just not think, flat. And free fuel for the win. Exactly. I need a bumper sticker that says "We'll break for fuel cells," because I always come back with some. I'll be like, "Oh look, there's aluminium." No, you're pulling over to get some fuel cells because you use them. You'll always use them. You're flying around in the deep desert, and that big copter. You're going to go through a lot of fuel. It's the nature of the beast. Okay, so that was my PowerPoint. Yes, take your time, look for stuff because, like when you make your shields and you need Holtzman actuators, it's nice to have a stock of those because you will have to replace. If you get eaten, you got to replace your shield. If you're making armor, you need armor plating. You need to know where those places are to go find them. And if you are looking for those things, keeping track of where those spots are. Can you use the buggy mining laser? Hefe's going to jump out at me. You can use the buggy mining laser on anything that you can use a hand laser on. So take that for what it's worth. Okay. I'm trying really hard to behave, but so many things have slipped out since the open beta weekend, and I'm trying to behave. I'm trying to respect the respecter. But yeah, it's okay to go back and farm things. There's things that you'll need. 2 is 1, 1 is none. I know, but I can say I tried. This is true. The last stream did show buggy mining in the Hydro Rift. So yes, if you can mine it with a hand laser, you can mine it with a buggy. I will say, if you paid attention in the beta weekend, so you get your first cutter, and it will cut granite and it will cut copper. If you tried to use it on iron, it would have told you that it's low efficiency, right? So you need to upgrade your things to a similar tier of what you're cutting. And that stays true for anything that you can cut. If you want to be efficient, you need to use a higher tier tool. Always get the best tools you can have. Absolutely. Okay. The door is open there. That's the buggy laser is very, very, very much worth your effort to get. The question was asking, in the deep desert, hovering over your guildmates, can you refuel? Yes. If you watched the dev stream, you could see whoever was flying the transport was refueling in the air. That's why I was saying I think people's concern about giant zergs hovering around and patrolling is not going to be as big a concern because you can only carry so much fuel. And high altitudes can consume fuel, and just flying around consumes fuel. Hovering or going into vulture mode, there's durability issues. People are not going to be hanging out there literally all day. You know, there's always fuel that you need to worry about. So you can refuel just like you can on the bike. You can refuel the bike while you're going. But yeah, you absolutely can. Has Joel tested firing a buggy turret while being carried yet? That's a good question. We'll have to ask Joel when we see him again. That could be very interesting. Because we know the question had come up in the stream about people being on vehicles. Okay, they showed the test in the deep desert with all of the Thopters flying around, and I'm like, if anybody can stand on the back of that and actually hit somebody, give it to them. I mean, come on. So I think, you know, if you are able to actually hit something while standing on the back of a flying vehicle, or we took people around on back of bikes for the open beta weekend. You can surf the back of a bike. Because I never build a chair. I never build an extra seat. Okay, so we're coming up to the toe shoe still suit boots from the Soul Survivor shop. Yep, you can indeed climb on top. They called it the battle bus. I think it was Ale had talked about that before. Yeah, it's one way to get around. But remember, if you're in a vehicle, like on a bike, and you're riding the bike, you don't get sunstroke. If someone's surfing on your bike and not seated, they still get impacted by the heat. So they'll still get heat stroke. So, you know, I wouldn't, again, if someone makes a shot with heat stroke and flying around, then I say give it to them. But what do I know? It wouldn't be me. I would be sick. I would be. Questions. We're kind of coming up to a good point for Q&A. I think I covered everything I meant to cover. Do like Mary Poppins. That's what your suspensor build is for. We talked about world structure, map sizes, start times, tiers of games, the lore of Spice. I am not going to... Okay. No DMC. What I took away from the discussion when I saw the interview with the devs who mentioned the numbers. What I took away from that, okay, previous to yesterday, they had said that the deep desert could hold upwards of 900 people at a time. In theory, 100 per block, right? Which is what they said yesterday. What he said yesterday, what I heard, okay, was if you've got 9 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we all come in 1, 2, 3, and box 1 has 100 people in it, box 2 has 100 people in it, and box 3 has 100 people in it. Those boxes are locked. No more people can go in. They can only leave. In theory, that could lock the whole deep desert. However, I didn't read that as the deep desert caps at 300. If 100 people are in box 1, 100 people in box 4, and 100 people in box 7, people can still move around and people can still come and go from boxes 2 and 3. That's how I saw that. So I could be wrong. Hefe also did say today, and I've mentioned this before, numbers can change. I think people are really hung up on the numbers for this. Don't panic. Trust the process. Okay, I know everybody's really afraid of Zergs on one hand, and there was somebody else who was really worried about having an empty deep desert. It was like the two sides of these numbers. I think it'll be fine. Okay, don't panic. The Cure Inner, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and not panic. They did, and this is something we mentioned earlier. They were tweaking player caps and moving the numbers around on the fly, which is good. On their bases you can raid. If their ability to watch and adjust things as the need arises is something I think we haven't seen. Like if you played Conan, it was kind of like you just had to wait for stuff. That was the other question. The moderation. If you've played Conan, you know what I'm talking about. There's a reputation that moderation is not consistent across the board in official servers. Okay, private servers do what private servers do, but there's a reputation for not consistent moderation. And I asked Joel, I said, will there be some clear expectations for behavior? What is griefing, building in places? They've done a lot for blocking off POI, so you can't build there. No build zones. So those things are in constant evolution. And I said, will there be clear expectations? Because this is unlike Conan. They have the official Discord. Conan does not have an official Discord, and we're going to have the guild stuff, and there's going to be lots of activity there. And will we have those clear expectations of what behavior is not allowed? Some people think PvP, anything is allowed. There's no such thing as griefing. I asked this. I said, would there be clear expectations? And he said yes. One difference between Conan and here was the moderation team for Conan was monitoring mini games. And so there weren't people sitting around waiting just for stuff to go sideways in Conan. The moderation team for Dune is just for Dune. So he said that there would be more consistent moderation, at least at the start. I mean, over time, we don't know. But there'd be more consistent moderation to keep the griefing down to a dull roar, or keeping bad behavior, people saying things over voice comms that they shouldn't be saying, or saying things in print, or building in places that block important spawns. You call them sand marshals. I like that. Can you fly into the deep desert in the carrier carrying a vehicle? That part's still under NDA, and I cannot answer that. Would if I could, but I'm going to behave. Hefe, if you're here, I like that question. Oh, wrong one. I wanted sand marshals. Call them sand marshals. I'm not breaking it. I have worked the last 3.5 years to build a good reputation, a good relationship with Funcom. I'm not going to throw it away. I know you're here. That's why I'm not going to say it. I'm not gonna break NDA. I'm going to behave. It has been. I was talking to some people in the game about how hard it has been in some ways to maintain that, but more, we're coming up to the end of the beginning, and that's something. It's something nostalgic. I know my buttons. Yeah, Hefe can say whatever he likes. He likes to taunt us with that. We're coming up to the end of the beginning, and there will be things that are always under NDA. Some things will always be under that umbrella, and there's gonna be some of us. It's gonna be like the end of the Lord of the Rings when they go back and they're sitting in the pub and 4 of them are sitting there with their beer just looking at each other like that was a thing and can't talk about it. They can't take tanks from us. Where are the tanks? NDA. I know they looked. I like how they changed the marketing stuff. Now we have a buggy. And okay, Hefe. I know marketing is not your fault. Excuse me, but if you're going to take a tank out and drop a buggy in, that gives people the impression that the buggy is a combat vehicle. Yep, NDA is forever, and there will be always the potential for consequences. And I think people are mistaken when they think about that. It's like, oh, Funcom's not going to do anything. I'm like, well, Funcom's not who you have to fear. It's legendary. You got to be afraid of. Oh, there you go. We could surf on the buggy with a laser gun. That could be fun. We'll have to try that. When the game goes live, of course, we'll have to try that. Towing a 1965 Chrysler. I think I had a car that big. That actually could be really fun, though. Now I'm thinking about it. Combat buggy. Yeah. The wheels are turning. I didn't even think about that one. The sand bike as a combat vehicle. I want to know who it was in that stream yesterday out in the deep desert on a bike, because that was some cojones that I would never. That's who running around on a bike out there dropping thumpers. That was wild. I am in awe of whoever that was. The thumper person. That was your MVP of your team. Because I would not have done that. I think that's what they did. Is I think they dropped down, swapped vehicles, and just started running a circle around that spice blow. Yeah, with the Thopter, I cannot imagine doing that on a bike out there. I think one thing I hope people noticed was you drop the harvester out there and you could see it doing circles, right? And you could see the stripes in it. So just how much spice is in one of those big blows. And it's a lot if you're filling up a harvester with it. And then, of course, Grandfather Worm showed up and, ruins all your fun. We need to do more El Hate and more toe shoe boot ads, I think. But were there any other questions for when we go live? Live is next week. Hold on. Spotted the spices period. That was because it was harvested. Okay. Spotted the spice disappearing. Was that because it was all harvested, or it disappeared for some reason because of the worm? I think when the worm came, it disrupted. Am I planning to do a podcast? I've thought about it, but I think everybody's going to be playing. I don't think anybody's going to be watching. Group size limit. Okay. Group size limit. So this question came up with Joel as well. So currently, guild sizes are capped at 32. Team sizes are capped at 4. So if you're in a team There's markers. You saw them on the stream. There's markers where you can see where your 4 team members are. Okay, so if you're going into a PvP area, it's good to know where your team is. Joel uttered the words raid team of 8. But that is down the road. I don't know. And those are both multiples of 3 or 4 of those is a guild. So you would have four raid teams. And yes, keeping in mind, numbers can change. They have changed. They will change before all is said and done. What else did we have? Size limits. How will they balance so that large guilds don't dominate? Again, the guilds cap at 32. One of with the team cap at 4 and friendly fire being on for AoEs, it will make it more difficult to organize multiple teams. Even 2 or 3 teams will be difficult to coordinate, even over Discord, right? Because you can't see anybody, and you could be dressed like anybody. You could be, someone else talked about being the 33rd guild member. That's entirely possible. You could sneak into something. And I don't know how many of you noticed, but early on, especially, is that an NPC or is that a player shooting at me? I don't know. So it being a war of assassins and not a war of zergs, I think the mechanics of keeping the siege caps relatively low, keeping the guild caps relatively low, lends itself to a more difficult organizational thing to do large guilds, to do hard things with guilds. So I get why people are concerned. I think, though, that big combat guilds will get bored and not survive. What do we got here? Question. What do we got? Any word on queue estimates? No. The only thing that I have been in the loop for hearing is that there will be hundreds of worlds on launch on the 5th. Iggy said something about there being some flexibility on more worlds opening up between the 5th and the 10th, and of course the 10th is going to have fresh new worlds. So if you don't start on the 5th and you don't want to start, and you bought the game to start on the 10th, you can start up on fresh worlds that haven't been touched yet. So there's a lot of worlds opening up. Queue estimates, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot. If there are queues, they won't last long, more than a couple of days, as far as the having to deal with queues. I have a lot of confidence. I could be overly optimistic. Launch waiting room into podcast. Ooh, we could try that. I need to see, how everybody's feeling. Base raids, fire team. Yeah, fire teams are good. What do we got? I get banned for my sarcasm. I'm surprised I haven't been banned. Okay, here's a good question. Do you have to be in the same guild with the player to team with? No, you do not. You can pick up random pickup groups if you want to go into, to a space, whether it be in the basin or in the deep desert. Although keep in mind, the deep desert, you could get shot in the back, as we saw in the combat stream where they betrayed each other because there's a limited stuff. But you can team up with anybody. You don't have to be in a guild at all to form a team. You could pick up random people in Griffith Station and say, hey, you want to go run testing station number 2 with me. You can totally do that. More Furman stuff? I hope so. They did say the magic words Twitch drop. If you guys saw the building that they did with all those amazing windows, I want them. I want them bad. I don't expect a whole lot of problems with queues either. Okay, hold on. Maybe we got Meg. What happens when my guild is assigned? Okay, so if I'm the guild leader and we haven't pledged a house, and Bean is in my guild and he hasn't pledged a house, and Bob is in our guild and he hasn't pledged a house. Okay, I run enough to get my house rep up. I'm ready to pick a tradies, and I'm going to make the guild a tradies. Bean can stay in my guild. Bob can stay in my guild. Bob runs up the Harco side and decides to pledge Harco. He gets bumped. So as long as you haven't picked a side, you can stay in. But as soon as you pick an opposing side or an outside side, you get knocked off. Okay, I've noticed people are worried that they will not be able to join other guildies, as some will be on the 5th and others on 10th. Okay, this is a complicated question, and I really, really respect the concern, because you want to play with your friends. I think this is where they're going to be really watching the numbers. Remember, too, that you can play with your friends on the same world. You don't have to be in the same siege. Same siege makes it easier, but you don't have to be in the same siege to play together. There's going to be the visiting option, and eventually there will be not a server transfer, but a siege transfer once the numbers kind of settle a little bit. I think mostly there is a hope that they will be releasing the names of the worlds and sieges, maybe the day beforehand. Fingers crossed. They haven't said this specifically, but I'm hoping this is Meg pulling stuff out of her butt again. And then that will let people coordinate a little better. Iggy said they were very reluctant to give specifics, which I respect, because things can change. And so when people hear a number or whatever, they kind of latch onto that and can be very hyper focused and not being more flexible, like I think the launch will need. But Q dimming, I can understand why people are worried. All right, Happy, bye-bye. I'm scrolling. I'm behind you guys. Yeah. Someone asked a question. I think you asked this twice, and the answer is I don't know. Spot on the back of a harvester, a green crescent bar. I don't know. Maybe it's just a bar to keep it from tipping when it gets heavy. I don't know. Mm-hmm. NDA. I can't talk about the. I'm trying to think. Green crescent bar. I know when you're flying around, you'll see like fuel and water. Is that what you're talking about? Like an illuminated bar. I'm drawing a blank. Oh, on the harvester itself, I don't know. It could be cosmetic. To follow up on the question, if you decide you want to join server Charlie, you don't know until that day 10 of the guilds. And that is a concern. So in my experiences, that's right, you're seeing the fill-up bar. In my experiences with MMOs, so never pick the first ones, never pick the last ones. So you're going to pick a world in the middle, because the noobs are all going to take the first ones, right? And then once you pick your world somewhere in the middle, say there's 20 sieges, roll your d10, add 10 to it, and that's the number of siege down the list that you should take. Because the noobs who haven't played survival games or haven't played MMO type games, because this is not an MMO, are going to grab those first ones, and they will fill up very quickly. So I would think about how to pick towards the middle as much as you can to avoid the worst of it. There is a risk that you or your friends may have to restart, so don't get too attached in those first few days to your progress, just in case, right? It could happen. What else we got? Being over here answering questions like a boss. Yeah, the middle one. Hold on. That's not the one I wanted. This is what I wanted. The carry-out pilot will see the state of the harvester. Exactly, because you may not have the voice chat going, and you need to be able to know when to pick up, in theory, pick up your harvester so that you know it's full, because you don't want to linger on the sand any longer than you have to. There's an element of playing the game and finding out. I mean, when I first started playing Conan, the journey steps were very, very thin, and there was a whole lot of things that the game did not explain to you. Things like, if you put rocks in a grinder, what happens? If you put seeds in a grinder, what happens? If you put seeds in an oil press, if you put fish in an oil press, you put fish in the all of these different things, and then the stuff happens. There's no tooltip for those things. And I think if you are new to survival games, don't expect a tooltip for everything. Play around, find out. And that's really, I think people think Joel's kind of completely teasing about that, but legitimately play around and find out. Try a thing. What's going to happen? What's the worst that can happen? You blow something up. Okay, now you know. It's like the cookies I made the other day. It was some of the nastiest cookies I've ever made in 40 years. Those are the awfulest cookies. Play around and find out, and then you know not to do it again. And then if you're lucky, much hilarity happens, and then it makes for a good stream. But that's a good question. If I were to do a podcast, so the drop time for here, hold on, where was it? Where's my live time? For here is, hold on. So like here, it's going to drop at 1500. So it's 3 o'clock. I wonder if there would be the Conan wiki in the early days was very, very thin on the ground, and I got in the habit of kind of not trusting it because it didn't always update, because it was like the early access days and early on. So it was it was different. I think Mojo's got the wiki going. I think there's some other guides and things that will probably be pretty accurate. And there's a whole team of the wiki elves over on that Discord that are busy working on it. Who have been adding things slowly to it. Mojo also eats Modivs. That was, yeah. Correct. This is a time zone thing because, as pointed out, someone got confused. Chicago is U.S. Eastern Time will start at 9, but in Mexico City it starts at 8 because Mexico City doesn't do daylight savings time. So, these are the times, not the locations. Don't panic if it doesn't look like there's not something near you. And I've heard the rumor that there's going to be a website with maybe some bot support for knowing when servers are online. That'll be really great. Okay. Twitch drops. This is a very good question. Whoops. God. So when you are logged into Twitch, there's a place in your settings where you can go to Twitch drops and click on the games that you play. And what will happen is if you click the one for, hit the buttons, hit the one for Dune Awakening, whenever you stream Twitch, whenever you Twitch stream Dune, it will allow your viewers who have also linked their Steam to Twitch, they have to make sure that's linked, to get the drops. So there's usually a time limit. So like an hour for the first one, 2 hours for the second one, 3 hours for the third one, because they usually come in threes. Sorry, there's a thing in front of my face. They come in threes, and you also get it. So if you are streaming for an hour, you get the drop, they get the drop. Streaming for 2 hours, you get the drop, they get the drop. I don't know when they'll be dropping those fancy window building pieces, because that shit was amazing. I want it, but I would hope very soon. I think they're usually not specifically. We don't know what they are yet specifically. Usually, what Funcom does with the Conan ones is you get like a small cosmetic one for the first one, a cosmetic for the second one, and I think they mentioned build pieces. So the build pieces will be coming very soon. We do know that there will be drops on that day, but I don't know how long you will have to watch for what they are dropping. Which is another reason to try and stream that day, is because I want to build. I'm a fiend for building pieces. Anybody who's watched my Conan build streams know I'm a sucker for replaceable. On the 5th. So they will start drops on the 5th. Even if you can't play yet, the ones who are playing, you can watch the stream and it'll bank the drop for you. Usually what they do is there'll be like a 10-day window from the time they'll do the first drop, like on the 5th, and then the next drop they'll do it a couple of days later, and then the third drop a couple of days after that. I hope to be streaming on launch. I know everybody and their cousin is going to be streaming on launch. The game hit 1 million wish lists back in October, and I know that it's not always indicative of pre-orders, but I think even if a quarter of the people who wish listed it bought it, that's still 250,000 people who bought it. I don't know. They don't usually go. I think the cap for Funcom for Conan was 3 hours. So like 1 hour you got like one little cosmetic, and 2 hours you got a little bit bigger cosmetic, and then like 3 hours you got a bigger one. So they don't make you spend a lot of time watching inane people make shocked faces at a video game, thankfully. But again, if you're streaming it, that clocks for you too. I don't think you have to watch it all consecutively either. There's like a bar. So if you have to go do something, you can come back, or you can just leave it muted in the background. Exactly. Who's got time for watching when we're playing? If I could get a good Hawaiian pizza, I would eat a good Hawaiian pizza, but I don't think I live in England, and English food is English food. Yeah, if you've got the CPUs, just put it on and minimize it and quiet, mute it and let it run. Usually what I would do is if I'm not streaming, is I'll find the smallest person that isn't horrible playing, and I'll let it run in the background, so they'll at least get a view for a little while. Go back to face cam, Meg. Okay. I pushed the button. No, there's not an Asda near me. I have to get delivery, and so there's I can't. There's no Asda delivery here. I have to get Sainsbury's or what's the other one? Ocado. I pushed it correctly. I did something right. But no, I have no Asda's here. There's one in town, not too far, but I don't go to it. The road collapse 2 years ago has never been fixed. I don't think it'll ever be fixed. We don't get buses here. Shannon's plug. Okay, What other questions do we have? We're coming up on a good time to wrap. If we don't have any other questions, I'm willing to sit and talk about this all day. Yeah. No, I live in Kent. There was England is very chalky, very very chalky. No, anybody who streams the game can link the game to the game and get the drop. So there's no limit. You don't have to be a creator or a particular streamer to be able to do the drops. The drops will be open to anybody who streams the game. That way, even if you have a small following and there's two of you, both of you get the drop. It's worth doing. Where I'm at is very very chalky, and 2 years ago, because where I live is very very leaky with the water pipes, there was a road collapse that destroyed a road. Excuse me, and now buses can't get where I'm at. If I leave my neighborhood, I have to go by taxi. Yeah, always make sure if you are unsure, you can ask the streamer if they have it, or up at the top right hand side, whenever you're watching, like click your little profile picture, there's a drop down that should have. Make sure that if you are watching, that your Twitch, that your Steam is connected. Otherwise, you won't get it. It's pretty easy. If I could figure it out, I Googled it and I was able to do it. It worked right away. So if you're unsure, double check. Otherwise, we don't want you to waste your time. How many Moedives have I eaten? None. I don't run over Moedives. I don't smoosh Moedives. Oh, it's worse than the council. So there's 2 water companies where I am, and neither one of them want to pay for it. They haven't even surveyed. The council's like, somebody should pay for this. And so the water company's like, no. Water company's like, no. Council's like, no. And so now they're hoping that, I guess, whoever's up from the council will survey it to see if it's even fixable. So, yeah, we're probably never going to get a bus back. If you're unsure about watching a streamer stream the game, mine is linked properly, so you would get the drop if yours is linked properly. Hint, hint, make no sense. I do hope to be streaming quite a bit. If we do stream the podcast on Thursday next week, it'll be earlier in the day is the problem. It'll be like noon my time, which is like 7 o'clock in the morning on a weekday. In the U.S. on the East Coast, it'd be ungodly hours. I know, privatization of utilities. I know. And where I'm at, if you follow English news specifically, there's been a back and forth with specific water companies dumping sewage. And that's one of my water companies, because I pay for water in from one company and water out from another company. The water out company, I pay to treat the water. They don't treat the water, they just dump it. And then now they got in trouble, and then they're like, oh, well, we have to pay all these fines, so we're gonna jack your water bill by 64%. And I'm like, I already paid once for you to do stuff with the water. Why should I have to pay you twice? Much less, 3 times as much. No, we have hard water here, and it's shit. We have really, it's brutal. We had hard water in Germany, but hard water here is bad. I mean, it's. I think the worst water I had, though, was my hometown. When I grew up in Texas, it was lake water it was really naturally very salty and sulfury, so it smelled and tasted like shit. They chlorinated the fuck out of it, and it would take the chrome off of everything. It was awful. I mean, you run it through a Brita filter and an RO filter, and you can still smell it. The EPA is like, it's technically safe to drink, and we're like, you can, does not mean you should. The state of the kettle is bad. It is very, very bad. I have to run regularly scalar through it, and then then you're dumping all your faucets and your shower heads and things. Trying to get that off. You're cleaning everything with out there. I'm doing the redneck thing with the butter knife, trying to knock the lime scale off of shit. This is where we're at. We're scraping the green shit off your stuff. I'm trying to think, was there anything else I wanted to make sure I talked about? Notes. I'm trying to stay away from the mic so I don't get yelled at again. We did the recap of what we know. We've talked about the game structure. We talked about start. We talked about the tiers of the game. All right. Build sets. So you can buy the Atreides build set, and you can buy the Harkonnen build set as you go up those. You can buy things from the other faction. As Bene had said earlier, you can buy things from the opposing faction. It just costs you a lot more. Loyalty gets you a discount. All right. Same thing with the vehicle skins and armor skins. Loyalty gets you a discount. Then we have the Landsraad we talked about, survival mechanics. We talked about don't stand out in the sun, drink lots of water. The worm will come for you. We talked about the Bene Gesserit, the trooper, the Mentat bids. We talked about the world structure, the map sizes, the start times, NDA weekends. I think we talked about everything. Have we talked about everything? People are coming, and now I'm like, we have to talk about more stuff. The unicorn behind the shield wall, but I want people to experience that like fresh and on their own. I mean, there's some things you have to see for yourself. You can't. It's like Star Wars. There's parts of it I can tell you that there's parts that are great, but I can't. You have to experience it. Does the grandfather worm roam? That is DD stuff, and that is NDA stuff still. Sorry. I saw you answer that question earlier, and I hoped you forgot. The battle bus takes us to the unicorn. Yeah. There's still, again, I'm trying very hard. I know that some other creators have not been so, I'm going to say naughty. Some of them have been a little naughty, but I'm trying to toe the line here and behave. I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying to behave. I'm not going to say his name. There's a couple that some are worse than others. There is base rating. If you build on the sand, Shahlut absolutely will come eat it. We talked about this for the build, the creator press build. How you could build something and you get 2 or 3 foundations down, and then Shahlut just comes up straight up from underneath and eat your base. Yeah, there was some issues with base eating early on. That NDA is forever though. Yeah, it's forever. You can't get raid if you build on the sand. You won't have a base to raid is the problem. And all that stuff you just spent 2 hours, gathering and looting so you could build your first Thopter, it's gone too. I think a lot of people were dissuaded from, because there was a lot of people thinking, well, I'll just be the murder hobo and never build a base. I'm like, you will need a base. You absolutely will need a base. If you're building right at the edge is the thing. If you see if you're standing outside and you kind of run back and forth, if you see worm sign, if you see the little warning thing, don't build there. It will aggro. And you'll die. I think most of us have come close to building and dying. I try to build an overhang very, very quickly so I can duck under. That's my usual thing. And yeah, because otherwise I have to really keep an eye. And I always build in the still suit. Boxes, I think, are as a Conan builder. I hate boxes because boxes are ugly. However, boxes in Dune, the child's going to need to be fed here in a minute. The boxes in Dune are different because you can make a box beautiful in Dune, and boxes can't be beautiful, and it can be made very functional. But see, there's the thing. Go back to the build pieces. If we have those big Atreides windows that were beautiful, and archways that are beautiful, and the Twitch drops windows, and the floors, and the Caladan build set, you could still do an external box and make it beautiful. And I can turn a 2x3 space in Dune into a very nice bedroom or bedroom office space. And because they're bigger than what you have in Conan. Conan's very small compared to the furniture sizes. Yeah, the windows were so impressive. You could build your functional box out of pick a building set, and then go build your RP retreat with the Twitch drops or the Caladan set, and more sets will come. And they said in the stream where they talked about the Caladan set, they said more sets will be coming. Absolutely. There'll be placeables, there'll be more building pieces, because if they're doing a Caladan set, they're going to do a Getty Prime set. They will. This is the RPer in me that knows they know their market. They absolutely. And that set might go well with our concept, but there's going to be more. There's absolutely going to be more. I did not see ERP. I'm behaved. I'm well behaved. But I do need to wrap up because I do have to go feed the kid. It's been 2 hours and I'm hearing scratching at the door. So thanks everybody for coming. Thanks for all the great questions and the engagement. And it's the spray bottle. I'm behaving. It's been fun. Y'all can find me on my Discord, !Discord. We'll pop that up for you if you're on Twitch. Best place to find me, really, is easiest way to find me. And don't forget the open beta, the open Discord. If you weren't already in there before, does have everybody's waiting. Sometimes the devs like Hefe and Iggy and Joel Simmons pop in and answer questions. So it's definitely worth your time to kind of keep an eyeball on it. There's guild recruitment there, and all of the game announcements are there. Open beta win. Game drops in a week. We're just going to have to wait. So I will catch everybody next time, and hopefully maybe we'll see each other next week. I think that would be really great fun. So I am out of here. He got jumped on the other morning. I can't blame you for being cranky. So I'm going now, and we'll see each other soon.